Welcome to another episode of the Loren Lahav podcast, where we're celebrating our 5th year of bringing you the most fascinating, coolest humans on the planet. You know, I am cruising towards my 60th trip around the sun, and I've discovered something really magical. The world is packed with even more incredible stories than I ever imagined. And every week, it's like opening a surprise gift. You never know who's going to pop into our studio. Maybe it's a tattoo artist who became a quantum physicist, or a grandma who just climbed Kilimanjaro. We dive into the good, the messy, and the beautiful, sharing those awe moments, the epic fails that turn into beautiful wins, and the raw truth about owning who we really are. Because let's face it, life is way too short to pretend. So grab your favorite beverage, get comfy, and join our tribe of authentic souls who aren't afraid to keep it real. This is where wisdom meets laughter and where every story matters. Let's dive in. All right, I know I've said it before, but I want to be you when I grow up, Amy Edwards. I mean, come on. You're
my God.
tall, you're beautiful, you always only light comes out of you. I mean, you're just I think you're like a real live angel on earth. I truly do. I really, really do. You guys get ready. I know that I mean, I could probably spend hours talking with this beautiful soul. And we're going to talk a little bit. We were just talking earlier about how I had the event as Own Your Worth and rebranding it to be Own It. And why I decided to do that, it actually has a lot to do with this segment and what Amy's going to talk about as well. So, Amy, the reason was, I don't know about you, but I think that especially like in my teens and 20s and 30s and maybe even 40s, I was comparing myself. Right? Like, I think that I was really like comparing myself and I was a professional people pleaser. And so,
Yeah, same.
well, I think I kind of did the event, named the event Own Your Worth, because I think Tony R. Robbins always says he does the seminars for himself. Like, he'll talk about Date with Destiny and he'll say, like, I created this for me, like, right. And I'm like, I realized that for me, like that's why I named it Own Your Worth, because I kind of made it own my worth. So, and I think a lot of us were in that place, right? When we kind of got started. So that's why we've like changed it to Own It. And speaking of which, you're talking about owning it and kind of debunking midlife, the midlife crisis, or what people call midlife, that it's not a crisis, but maybe an invitation to, I don't know, revolutionize ourselves.
Yes, 100%. Yes, yes.
So share a little bit about that with us and
I
what you're
will.
excited about right now.
Can I just say how grateful I am, though, that you said that to me at the beginning, because I admire you so much. I want to be you. And I mean, I was sitting here staring at you when we first got on, just thinking, oh my gosh, she looks so beautiful. What can I do to be more like her? How can I glow more? And you've brought so much to my life, and I'm excited to get to that as we wrap up this podcast today. So thank you for what you said. I actually have on a shirt that says "Be the Light" too, because I thought that seems
God, there you
appropriate.
go.
And so anyway, you made me tear up. I can't think about it too much right now because I might start crying. So let's talk. So I understand exactly what you're saying when you say you or Tony do these things for yourself. That's what I do too. I walk the walk of all the things I talk about on my podcast, The Amy Edwards Show. And owning it is, to me, about letting go of all the old stories that we've heard so many times. For instance, midlife crisis, like that's in everyone's vernacular because that's like the accepted norm. So how can we own our truth and own our own story and make that our own, and including midlife? And I've had to accept, I'm a woman in my 50s, but does that look like all the stories I've seen, or the women in their 50s that I've seen? The Golden Girls, like they were actually in their 50s or something insane.
So crazy.
Yes. And so It is moving from crisis to a rebrand of whatever you want it to be. If it's an invitation, I'm thinking it's a transformation. It's an awakening, right? A midlife awakening, a
Yep.
midlife seizing of your power, a midlife owning of your own story, and not subscribing to all these other things that come at us from all different directions, media and everything else saying you need to be like this. You can be whatever you want. You can wear your cut up t-shirt at 52 years old.
Yep.
You can, yeah, right? We can enact a new version of what life looks like at absolutely any age, and that's a big part of my message. But yes, I do it for myself too. I need the reminders all the time. It's not a
Right.
linear path, and so I have to keep reminding myself and keep staying on top of it. But I've loved embracing midlife transformation and what that can
Yep.
look like, and writing my own story about it, right?
I love that. It's fun, right? Like I think that people like you said, the media can kind of get us to this place of thinking that there's like a downhill. I was talking to somebody else about menopause. I don't know. I thought it was kind of cool that I didn't have to carry tampons around anymore, right? And like plan my activities based around if I needed. I'm serious, right? Like a handbag with
Yeah.
like literally sometimes you would have to plan or your life around some of the things that were happening. It's like, oh my God, yay, no more. And it's this beautiful sage, this birth of being a sage and like honoring those different stages of our life. And like, I don't know, I'm obsessed with Dolly Parton. I mean, hello, look at her. What she's in her late 70s, reinvention, embracing, owning, like talk about someone who's owning it, right?
Yeah.
She's someone who's really decided I don't hear all the noise to say that I'm in my late 70s and I should be this way. Or Goldie Hawn, just looking at Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell just recently. I think they're in their mid 70s. So for you, when you think about that new chapter or this new opportunity, that isn't it really about like that our best work is still ahead of us? I mean,
Yes. And that,
I saw this gorgeous event that you
yes.
just went to, that I just went to with you and Justin. And I was like, man, like it's all that life experience that got you to be able to put together that beautiful event, right? I mean, what would
Yeah.
you say about that?
Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up because I have been thinking about this for like the last year or two, probably ever since I turned 50. And this fallacy that we'll fall into where we think our best days are behind us. And if we can just tell ourselves and just get on repeat in your head, some of your best days haven't even happened yet. Some of my best
Yeah,
days haven't even happened yet. That's such a great affirmation because it is absolutely true. And we let it go in sort of this murky space where we think, oh, maybe the best is over because people are telling
yeah,
us that. We're here flipping the script on menopause. Like, that's badass. You looking at it like, oh, let's look at the good things that are coming out of it. I get to be a sage. Like Loren, I was with some women, I don't know, a while back, and I was sitting around the table with them. They were all really awesome people, but I realized sitting there that I was the oldest one, and it felt good. And I was like,
yes,
whoa, wait, hold up. I like this. It felt like I had some sort of not power, but just authority in myself. And it was a rewrite that I didn't see coming. And I was like, oh, wow, I like this. And I think if we're willing to lean into this phase in life, we can really find these spaces of growth that are going to expand into best days that we never saw coming, which is like the event that you mentioned. Thank you for bringing it up. You gave me the kick in the pants. We've talked about this before. You gave me the kick that I needed to start our women's initiative with Fight for the Forgotten, which is a nonprofit that helps the Batwa Pygmy people mainly in Uganda right now. And these are a people group that have had nothing, and we're helping give them opportunity. The women in particular have even less, right? And so now, because we started this initiative under Fight for the Forgotten to help the women specifically, which you were a catalyst for. I'm so eternally grateful because I wanted to do it, but you gave me that push. And now we are seeing these women start jobs for the first time. There's a trade center now that's open. They are all starting their own businesses. The Trade Center believes in them so much too, and has seen such a turnout and such an initiative that they have donated the space for them to use to start their businesses for like 6 months. I can't remember exactly. And then the rent after that is very inexpensive. And we're just so excited. They are finding new ways to live that they don't even have a conception of. Some of them have never, ever learned about saving money, which is so foreign to us. Of course, we've heard of that, but they've never even heard of it. And so
Yeah.
they have to learn. Now we're branching out into teaching them financial literacy. The women in
Mhm.
particular, it excites me to no end. So Fight for Her is really moving forward. And it is a dream that I had for so long that I never understood how it would come true. And now here I am in my 50s, embarking on creating impact and being a part of something worldwide and bigger than I ever dreamed of. And it's fulfilling in a whole new way. So I guess the point is, you are going to have periods in your life where you think maybe it's the decline, and it is not. So can we rewrite that? And it falls into, you write your story. You're in charge of it.
Yeah.
You, meaning anyone listening, right? We are in charge of our own story. So what are you going to make it be? And that's part of owning it. So
Well, I love that. I'm so excited when you guys, first of all, you showed the video of the woman who was blind and had lost her children
Mama
because of the
Mariama.
water quality. So
Hmm.
many people don't even, I'm hoping that we can, share that with everybody. But, I think one of the most special moments that night was, seeing the friendships, the relationships that are in your life and the people that, are really there cheering you on. Can you talk a little bit, in this midlife reinvention about relationships and how, I always talk about that. Asher shows me that great little, visual of you've got root friends, you've got branch friends, you've got leaf friends. And what I saw that night was that you had a lot of root friends, people like deep. My friend Jeff always says, long-term relationships equal long-term success. One of my dearest friends, and I know someone you've gotten to be super close with, is Stephanie Jackson. I mean, she's a root friend for me. I see that over Christmas, she's moving in Bella in Encinitas. And, they said, she sends me a picture of Quinn, my son, with them. And I'm like, oh my God, like that's a root friend. But can you talk about helping people understand that about relationships and what happens
Yeah.
as you kind of grow?
Yeah, it's interesting to hear you say that, because I have been surprised both with my podcast and things that I've done. I've been a musician in my 40s. That's part of my story. And with this, it's surprising that it seems as if they're longtime rooted friends, but the friends who turn up are really not that long time in my life, or Justin's. And sometimes that's very surprising. And for me, it
Mm-hmm.
has been a real lesson in unconditional love, because
Yeah,
sometimes it's not the right phase for a longtime friend, or, sometimes it's not their thing. And I have had to really, truly learn to surrender in a space of, you know what? Longtime friends, it doesn't matter if they support what I'm doing or not. It just is a lesson in loving someone where they're at.
yeah,
And then on the other side of that, I've had people like you that I've only known for a little over a year, who have
yeah,
turned up for me in ways like the way you just said that. You show support for people in a way that inspires me to do it too, in a
mm,
whole next level. And so thank you for that. And there's other people. Justin had some donors show up that night. Literally, one of the biggest donors that night, he met that day. And
really?
yes. And we were so surprised. And sometimes someone is called in that moment and they follow the
Yeah,
call. And
yes,
so I have had to do the work to understand. I think my podcast was a really good lesson, because I have close friends who've probably never even listened to an episode, or maybe one here and there. And I'm on like 200 and something episodes of this podcast. I've had 3. And so that's okay. I just have to accept, you know what? That's the way it is sometimes. And I don't want
That's
it to I don't want it to affect the support that I show for them. I want
right.
to be the supporter and the cheerleader that I desire for myself, and I want to make people feel good without strings attached. And so those are some lessons in relationships that I've gotten in my later life that have kind of surprised me and
Yeah.
taught me new levels of acceptance, gratitude, and showing up.
I definitely, I'm sitting here amening you the whole time because I think the same thing happened for me. I'm like, oh, my friend's wrong. And I'm like, shut up. And then I'm like, okay, well, that's all
Yeah.
right. I guess. But like you said, they haven't heard a podcast. They don't even know maybe they haven't come to an event or they haven't done whatever. And that's okay. And like you said, being open. See, I'm really excited because I met a woman, well, a few women, just like you said, like I met Lucy, who were getting ready to go to DR. And I met her, I think like randomly in Tenerife. And we didn't see each other for years. And then she came here the week before COVID. And we were like, we had this whole big grand plan, but I didn't like know her. Like I met her in a, like literally, we were sitting in a chair and I was sitting in the other chair and we just started talking. Right. And
Isn't that
now,
wild? Yes.
oh,
And now here
wild.
you are. It's these relationships. If we just stay, I think the point is staying open, right? And you just never know. And
Yeah.
so there may be somebody that wants something from you or your support in something and you don't realize it. And you would do it if you realize, but maybe you don't, or maybe they haven't asked. And we don't, you wouldn't want to be judged or excluded or anything because of that. And so maybe it's just a good lesson in that. And just, I have been on the letting things go train for quite
Oh,
some time
yeah.
now and getting
Well,
lessons in that. And
I love
so,
that it's the year that I love that it's the year of the snake. Well, not because I'm just born the year of the snake, but I love the year of the snake because it really is about shedding, letting that go so that you can grow into that next level of who you are, right? I mean, the snake and the
oh,
snake grows, right?
yeah. Yes. I love
I mean,
that.
it doesn't hang on. It can't hang on, and it doesn't like try to hold on to its old skin either. Where I
Yeah.
think we get so attached to like how it was versus embracing like I was just telling Ashley this. I really believe that what's next is better. It
I
really, I
love
mean,
that.
what's next is better. Like she was talking about like a job she went and applied for. And I'm like, gosh, her, if you don't get it, what's next is better. I promise you. It's just the next level relationships, next level relationship, even with yourself. And so speaking of that midlife reinvention stage, let's talk about, I know that you and I are both very passionate about health, and embracing all of us as women. Can you talk a little bit about that and embracing our bodies?
Our
Our
bodies.
bodies.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had quite a little journey with my own body in the last 4 to 5 years. I was doing really well and taking care of myself and gotten really fit. And then I got together with Justin, and he is in active recovery. But during our relationship, he did relapse and go to treatment. And I coped by eating, and I wasn't taking care of myself. But at the same time, I was doing a lot of work around self-love and acceptance and surrender and all those things, right? Truly unconditional love. And so I got a big lesson. I gained probably 45 pounds and over the course of a couple of years and just crept up. And I was in a space of such love for myself, and it astonished me. And I was like, wow, 10 years ago, I wouldn't have felt like this if this had happened. And so
Mm,
anyway, now that my nervous system is settled and he and I are in a completely new phase, I have grown so much and been doing different work. I just work. When I say work, I mean work, on myself, and really, like I was talking about with unconditional love and surrender. And I really have worked on myself in the last year, and I've taken that entire 45 pounds off. And I'm starting this year feeling better than ever and really starting to pay attention to my health in a whole new way. And I did an episode at the beginning of 2025 that just came out about getting out of our comfort zone in smaller ways, which for me means my health and means like, oh,
mm,
not eating sugar, way outside my comfort zone. Am I willing to do that? And you're like, ah. And for a lot of people, it's sobriety, right? It's cutting out alcohol
yeah.
because you think, how can I possibly manage my social life if I don't have alcohol? And so I have been sober for 2.5 years now from everything.
Amazing.
I know. And it was way out. Once I flipped that script, we're just flipping scripts all over the place. Once I flipped that
Yeah.
script of realizing that not drinking was outside my comfort zone, I was like, ooh, I like to push myself outside my comfort zone.
Right.
That's a
Right.
space
Well,
for
and it's
growth.
almost like a little bit like what you said you needed. I apologize for interrupting, but it's almost like you needed that 45 pounds to create an awareness and shake you up and go like,
Totally. Yes.
and I think people try to think that there's a shortcut and there's really not. And you don't get the lessons when you try to take a shortcut, right? You don't create the awareness of who you are and what you are like. I don't know. I like celebrate like crazy. I remember when I did 75 hard, right?
Yeah.
And I did it 75 days before my 57th birthday. And
Cool.
the hardest one for me was the workouts, the two workouts.
Hmm.
And I was on my way to Madrid to go speak in Madrid. And it was day, I think, 54 of it. And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't get the two workouts in, right? And I'm like on the plane doing like the Peloton workout and I'm doing like all this craziness. And like, could I have missed it and like lied and been like, whatever? But I always knew, right? And there was such a huge celebration, just like you could hear in your voice, the celebration of when you got through that 40, that 45 pounds or the 2 years of sobriety. So here's the question. Who are you when you no longer, how do I say this? When you're no longer who you were?
Hmm. Who am I when I'm no longer who I was? I'm free, right? I'm
Mhm.
free to be whatever comes next. I'm very open, right? That's what I think it is. And then you have rewritten a script for what's next is better, right? You're
Mhm.
totally free. I love Byron Katie and I love her work and the questions that they ask. And if you do the 4 questions, right? Is this true? Can I really know this to be true? How would I
Yeah.
feel or how would I feel if I could never think this thought again? I think I'm missing a question in there, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
The final outcome of that work, I feel like every time I do it, the answer is free. And really that is part of this owning it, right? If you have freedom, it's seizing our own freedom to write our story. It's seizing our own freedom to let go of that old version, whatever that is. And so I love that so much. I love feeling that liberated to embrace whatever is going to come and
Yeah.
not think that we know, not to have my own expectations getting in the way.
Which is the big thing, right? Like, I think the quote that I love more than anything, I think Kathy Buckley says it, and I'm sure somebody else does as well, but it's like, you want to make God laugh, you tell her your plan, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
So
yeah,
good.
oh, I was going to do that. Oh, right.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when I came there to Austin, I was going to do that book launch and I had the books and I had the bags. And then my bag ended up in God knows where, right? What do they say? Delta stands for divert everyone's luggage to Atlanta. I think that's love you, Delta, but that's the truth. And
Yep.
I'm like, had it all set up of how I was going to show up early and I was going to do this and then I was going to do it downtown and then everything moved, right? And then everything ends up being even more beautiful because the story, the journey is what makes it. So speaking of
Yeah.
which, because I know that what really drives you is legacy and impact. And especially I've just seen what the amazing impact that you and Justin are making over there. And when lots of times I remember when I went over to Malawi and when Madonna was doing the Raising Malawi project and someone made a comment and I said, you know why she does this? And I think about you and Justin. It's like, you know why you guys do this? It's so that people will wake up and do something. Maybe it's within their 2 mile radius. Like I know that for you and for all of us, right? It's like we want, like you said, like watch the feet, not the lips. We walk our talk, right? I'm not
Yeah.
going to lie to you and say I don't have sweet tea. I got it right here, right? But that 99% of the time I'm still doing all of those other things that like keep me on track and keep me going. And like you said, lots of times it's a psychological, like for me, it's not, I'll probably like sip on this all day long, but it's
Yeah.
mostly just a psychological thing to keep me like, I got my sweet tea. But
It's
talk
not about
about
perfection, right? It's not about perfection. Even with the 75 hard, it's not about perfection. It's about showing up more than you don't, really, for me.
exactly
Yeah.
right when they say if you did 1% better every day, you'd be 365%
I mean,
better,
hello. Yes.
right?
Yes.
Really? Like it's
And
like
not really, actually. You'd be more than that because it compounds. So actually, you're getting compounded percentages rather than just
exactly. Oh, I love that. Ooh, I love that. Ooh, that would be
compound that.
1,000%.
Right. That's
But
right.
let's talk about a little bit about defining what your personal legacy for you.
Mm. I try not to get too, like we were talking about the freedom of not knowing what's next. I try not to get too bogged down in exactly what that looks like. But I do know the type of person I want to be for my kids.
Mhm.
And I do try to show up in the world as that. And when I don't, I try to take accountability and responsibility. So a lot of my legacy looks like that. I think about my father a lot. My father died in 2011, and he you know, was never the one that would put his name on anything if he was
Mhm.
donating. He really preferred to be anonymous. And at his funeral, a lot of people turned up that I'm getting a little choked up, that he had paid their college tuition. He had done things, maybe given a loan or given a down payment for people's houses. He had helped people in business to start their businesses. He had done so much and created such a legacy. And one of his favorite quotes was, I believe it's Ralph Waldo Emerson, and it is, to know one life has breathed easier because of you,
That's
that
you.
is success. And so
Yeah.
that really stays with me. It's not about your name being on things. It's
Yeah.
about really to know that lives have breathed easier because of
Yeah.
you. And I think that he set such a good example for me in that way, that I want to do the same thing for my children and for the world I leave behind. So that is,
That's a mic drop, sister. That's a mic drop. I mean, it sounds like we had, my dad, I don't know if you saw, I did a post about my dad. My dad was in the Lions Club for 52 years. And I posted a
wow.
picture of me. I think I was like 4 years old wearing a shirt. And it says, my dad is a lion. And but the same thing with him. He was like, we would go volunteer for the Margie McCune Home for the Blind, or sell brooms, or do whatever he
Yeah.
does. You just don't know, you never know. You never know the impact. Like you said, my dad, I would say he was the ultimate gentleman, and he was
Yeah.
like he said, like, just do the right thing. Just do the
Yeah.
right thing every day of your life. So
Well, along with that, I want to say that I didn't know how this was going to come about, particularly Fight for Her. I always had longed to start something like a nonprofit or something, but I didn't know how. I didn't know what to do, whatever. And you are really into manifestation, and I'm assuming your audience is too. So, what I had done, your dog, she's like, I'm into manifestation too.
Martha, she's like, you're talking about me. We're going to talk about the dog rescue, right? Anyway, go ahead. Yes.
Yes, right. It could be anything. Could be a dog rescue, whatever you're dreaming of. I made an audio vision board or a manifestation board, and I created an audio recording of what my perfect, amazing day looks like. And in that, I had something around, and I have a nonprofit that helps women all over the world. And this was years ago and before I met Justin, and I never dreamed how that would come about. I kind of thought it was just pie in the sky talk. But even if you dream of something and don't know how it might manifest, write it down, get it on your manifestation board, vision board, whatever it is, or record it like I did, say it out your mouth into the ether, and things can really align to surprise you. So I just wanted to say that it surprised me, Justin coming into my life, somebody who had an established nonprofit, and then one day he just out of the blue was like, we thought about doing something for women, and we're going to call it Fight for Her. And I was like, I love that. Yes, I want to do
Yeah.
that. And then he ends up somewhere where you are. I meet you. You say, please do this. I mean, like,
And
everything
that would just
flows.
create. I mean, like you said, I think you need to be open, not and not be not attached to anything. Just be open to all the possibilities. It's funny that you say that, because I have, as you know, I have all my boards on my wall. I have 30 years on this wall. Everything's kind of
Amazing.
obnoxious
So
because I've
cool.
got to start putting the other ones over there.
I
But
love it.
I put them up here just kind of randomly, And I look down and I'm like, oh my gosh, that was in 2011. I did that. And it says rescue the dogs. And I never, not on any other, and I'm like, what? Like, and that's the one I'm looking at like right now, is that one right there. I was like, oh my gosh, but like you said, just putting it out there. Or the crazy thing about Justin and you both ending up there, was the whole crazy thing
That you were even there. That you were
that I
even
was even there, or
there.
that my friend, what had happened was Tony asked me to do a wealth mastery. I don't know if you know this, but it's kind of a crazy story, and it's kind of a cool story for everybody to hear because I want everybody to be open to everything. And I just talked to my friend Michelle Landfrank, who I hadn't talked to in a long time, and she called me. It was right in the heart of COVID. Tony asked me to do wealth mastery. I'm like, dude, I've never, taught wealth mastery. You'll be fine, and what's crazy about this, Amy, is I am obsessed, as you know, with sticky notes. And I had a little sticky note of myself, a sticky note on my computer, my other computer. And I had the sticky note said, own it. And I had a picture of myself with like pointing at the screen, like, you got this. Like, cause I was watching videos and I was really nervous about taking on this whole, wealth mastery program. And so I said, own it. And it shows a picture of me like this. Well, I was talking to my friend Michelle, and they were looking for someone to end, like someone who had a great story, but also had some beautiful lesson in there. And she's like, oh my gosh, you need to find out about John Dornbos. And so I'm like, all right, look, I don't want to deal with it. You talk to this guy, blah, 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 blah. And then I heard John, and then I heard him for years, at Life and Wealth Mastery. And so, like you said, like I wasn't scheduled to be at UPW. I asked Joss to go to UPW with me. Justin, goes, hey, you guys have to stay in here. My friend's going to be speaking at the end of, after that night. And I'm like, John? And he goes, yeah, I'm here because of John. And I'm like, oh my God, like you have some amazing plan, right? And then and him and Joss, and then Joss had this heart condition, and it was the same heart condition
As
that,
John.
that
I
John
mean,
had. And you're like, oh my God, like, thank you. And then I got to meet you, and I like fell in love with you. And so like be open to those beautiful, like you said, possibilities, because yes, I only have, like you said, and you're right, I have a few very like root relationships, but the ones that are now my roots, like I've grown some new roots, I feel like, and I'm like, and I think during that time that you're talking about this reinvention and this rediscovery stage, be open to the possibilities of new friends coming into your life that really have your shared values. Oops. Hi, Karen. You're going to meet Karen. I'm going to ask her to come back in a couple minutes, 3 minutes. Okay, cool. Hello. So, be open to looking for I think it's the values, like the people that are really in my life, they have the same values as me. Not on and everything, but I'm just saying that like I'm much more aware. So can you talk a little bit about the awareness that's happened for you during this stage in what you bring into your life, what you decide to say yes to?
what I decide to say yes to. You know what? I think this is a good time to mention that I said yes to being in your mastermind group because your True Legacy Collective. I said yes to that on a whim. I mean, like I heard your pitch at Own Your Worth last year, which is now Own It, of course. And I said, Justin, I think this is right for me right now. And I just followed my heart and said yes in that moment. And it was so right for me. Not only were you such a instrumental part of us starting Fight for Her, which I'm eternally grateful for. But I stepped into starting a new company last year because I was in this group, which I don't think I would have done otherwise. And even if I had, I wouldn't have got the connection that you led me to, which
She's the best. She's the
yep,
best.
you led me
The
to
best.
a manufacturing and production partner who is a dream, an absolute dream. And I probably never would have met her. And so I am so grateful for that. I'm starting my water bottle company, Overflow. We started Fight for Her. And that was incredible. And then just the content that we got in the mastermind, it was a lot about speaking and owning your story. which I speak. I get in front of a microphone all the time on my podcast. I've done radio for 30 something years. I do commercial. Like I'm doing it. You would think I could get up on stage easily and speak. And yet I had something holding me back there. And so the work that we did was profound for me and moved me up to another level that I needed. And I'm so grateful for that. So there's so much great content. And of course, the incredible community of, and I mean this in the best way, mature women, established women. So many times we can join something and there are, maybe you're the oldest person there. And like, I love this community because I'm not, and it's people that I felt a kinship with. And it's been really fantastic. It's been a wonderful part of this year and part of growth and what I'd said yes to. And so I just wanted to shout that out for a minute for
well,
you.
I love you. You're in my life forever. So just so you know,
forever. That's right. We had roots go deep real fast.
I love that. That is exactly how I feel. Well, you are amazing. One final question, and then I want you to tell everybody how to get a hold of you because they have to follow you and they have to know about the water bottles. Because
great.
When are we going to launch the water bottles? When are we launching it? I'm just curious.
I'm getting caps produced right now. And so we've worked on our molds and you know what? I did this company just deciding that I'm not going to stress about it. So I'm just taking one thing at a time, but it'll be soon.
I just commit to buying them for the people at the next Own Your Worth event. So
thank you. I hope so. That's a great goal.
Absolutely.
So,
and then how do people find out more about you?
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you for having me today. I really had a great time. I love talking to you. It's just so special. And you're going to be on my podcast very soon. It's called The Amy Edwards Show. It's out everywhere that you get podcasts, both audio and video. And you can check us out at YouTube on The Amy Edwards Show, or you can follow me on Instagram and find everything there. It's at Real Amy Edwards. And if you want just a central hub for everything, amyedwards.info. It's got my courses. It's got Fight for Her. It's got Overflow. It's got everything you could possibly want. Maybe too much. So yes. Thank you, Loren. Thank you so much.
And I'll see you soon. And Justin, see you both soon.
Yes.
Have a great one.
See you soon. Bye. Thank you.
And that's a wrap on another episode of the Loren Lahav podcast. I hope you're walking away feeling totally inspired, energized, and ready to take on whatever comes your way. If you enjoyed our conversation today, wait till you hear what's coming up next. Speaking of which, mark your calendars because something incredible is happening March the 7th through the 9th. The Own It experience is coming. And trust me, you don't want to miss out on this transformational event. We're talking breakthrough moments, powerful connections, and tools that you can truly own your journey. Can't wait until then. Here's how you can stay connected. Make sure you subscribe to wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app. Just search for the Loren Lahav podcast and don't forget to tap that follow button. For all the behind the scenes goodness and daily inspiration, follow me on Instagram at I am Loren Lahav. And if you're loving what you're hearing, spread the love, share this episode with a friend who needs to hear this message. Want to dive into everything we're talking about today? Click the link in the show notes so that you can access exclusive resources, connect with our amazing community, and learn more about the Own It experience in March. Your transformation awaits. Until then, remember your story matters, your voice matters, and you got this. See you on the next episode.